to bring a common sense approach to money in a world of total insanity. Let's welcome Tony D'Angelo.
All right, I hear all the tape recorders getting ready to press the red and the black button, the play button and the record button to tape Tony D'Angelo, because Tony's on every Tuesday and folks can't wait for him to come on. Did I date myself by saying that?
Actually, you're ahead of what's happening here. I still use reel-to-reel.
Tony D'Angelo, you got to follow him on Twitter, Tony D'Angelo7. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, Lee Elci. Good morning, everybody. Proud to be among you.
All right, in the gutter we go, right?
Well, yeah, and I mean, we had a bright white last week. We had our theme of moral bankruptcy. I got so many nice notes from people saying, you know, you really, people I normally don't hear from, you know, you really hit a chord with me here, and I was grateful for that. And I got some hate mail, and that's okay. I mean, you're making an impact either way, and, you know, because that's the whole thing. We want to move the arrow, and, you know, I'm still searching for the up arrow here in Connecticut and just about anything that I'm seeing, and in politics or government or anything like that, and really kind of I'm going to call it just another elephant in the living room. On Friday night, we had the Bob Stefanowski commercial criticizing Governor Ned Lamont for being associated with business in horrible, evil Tennessee, where abortion is criminalized, and Ned is going to Tennessee, or his wife is going to Tennessee to chase business. Now, I looked at that kind of quizzically, and I felt somewhat sour because, to me, and this is Tony D'Angelo, this is no one else's impression. It kind of reminded me of two drunks in a bar calling each other drunk. It's like, why do we always have to go to the lowest common denominator? And we never get to the up arrow. And then I thought to myself, we've been covering corruption on this show, Lee Elci, for like 2.5 years, and we mutually expressed frustration as to no one's picked up this ball and run with it. It's been this gigantic, how could I put it, game of poke the bear. You know, everybody wants to poke the bear and run, especially after you give them everything, and you give them everything in order to do it. And it personally angers me, because we'd be a lot farther along if people did their bleep blanking jobs, you know, rather than waiting around in the gutter. And I guess my point is this: if abortion is a codified issue in Connecticut, why can't we leave that aside and start to bring, you know, that's a geometry class given. And let's have a message, if you want to talk a double standard and you want to talk hypocrisy, about Ned's corruption and, you know, the fact that Ned being Ned discourages legitimate business. Now, here's my point. You know, let's get our minds out of the, I'm going to use the term the gutter. Let's not use Tennessee as, quote unquote, the hypocrisy example. Let's use the good old Cayman Islands, or more properly, the secret tax-free, abortion-preventing, gay marriages illegal Cayman Islands, where Ned's family interests are kind of touching $1.8 billion, according to SEC documents. And we're talking real money, because all of that speaks to, you know, having a clean environment. This is something where we could do business. Now, again, I looked last night and I said, well, where's the Ned gang in Tennessee? They've got like one equity listed. You know, nothing's really happening there, and that's just kind of a, you know, I guess I'm speaking to the same issue from the back door. And the other thing is, it's just, we're never going to get to anywhere in the state. I mean, Connecticut's got a reputation for being corrupt. Let's go in the living room. Let's pull the bear out. Let's pull the elephant out. And we're never going to attract a really sound environment until we fix all our internal issues. This dawned on me this past week. It's like not one, and we'll get into this next week, there is not one agency, be it unemployment or be it the paid family and medical leave. You know, we called that shot 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah. That was a whole...
It's like, you know, there's not one agency that fails repeatedly. And we'll get into tourism in a moment, and like this whole thing of the DECD is going to lead us into tourism. You know, dear Lord, lead me not into temptation. It's like, you got to call it for what it is. You have to fix it, and it just angers me. I am privileged to come before these people, but it just angers me that it's guys like Lee Elci and Tony D'Angelo and George Colley, who drag this stuff out, and you don't see anybody in politics doing this. You don't see anybody in the campaign. I mean, hey, listen. I'm calling it as I see it, my friend.
What would you listen? All valid points. What would you, as a consumer of information in this gubernatorial race, and I know you've said similar things in the past, but what would you rather have seen Bob do, or what tact would you like him to take?
I knew you would ask me that question. It would be terribly unfair for me not to answer it. Close abortion and say, we have 10,000 other issues in this state. We're hemorrhaging businesses. We're hemorrhaging corporations. We've got no sound policy. I haven't heard any policy. I haven't heard anything as far as numerically or quantitatively what is going to make Connecticut desirable. I hear stuff about taxes. I read tax plans like the GOP plan. I'm sorry, it's incoherent. It's like it is too much for the average mind to grasp. I work in this stuff and I'm having trouble grasping it. There's too many little points with it.
Right.
I want to see policy. I want to see what makes Connecticut safe. To your point, you're driving on the highways and you fear your life. Well, what about tourism? People want to come and have a good time. They don't want to drive 95 or 395 or 2 or whatever the case may be and feel that they're going to be run off the road.
Right.
It's simple beans, Lee Elci. It is really simple beans.
So just nuts and bolts, meat and potatoes. This is what I'm going to do. I like that approach. I always have. Just, get to the people, press the flesh, talk about real issues, real things. I do think he needs to continue to hammer the idea that this administration is definitely, it's corrupt. I mean, you've got different layers of it that have, and you've said it for the last year and a half on Tuesdays, you've gone over chapter and verse of different reasons why we can throw that word corrupt out there. So those are things I would do. I think that you're probably right. You're on the right path with that.
Well, again, when you're, like they used to say in a 10-team National League before divisions, when you're in 10th place, you're a Met fan in the early 60s, there's nowhere to go but up. and that's really where we are, which, it brings me to this tourism discussion. Right. And I've been following all these discussions about entertainment and tourism with great interest, because I come from a family that worked in theater. My dad, my uncles, my cousins, or as Kitty Carlisle used to say, and to tell the truth, the legitimate theater. I can't quite pronounce it the way she did, but I wouldn't be here for it. And plus, I've had theater clients through the years. If no theater, there's no me. And when I hear the discussions about we've got to get tourism back, hey, listen, I'm with you. But what you're proposing, folks, is the same failed, I'm going to use the word crap, going back to Malloy and Still Revolutionary and all this other stuff, or going back to John Rowland. This is my problem, or maybe it's my blessing, Lee Elci. I go back farther than most. And I live in an area where there was a big investment in the early 1990s, probably to the early 2000s, of bed and breakfast and inns. I mean, it's perfect for it. It's this quintessential quiet corner New England kind of thing. Now, John Rowland one day, when he was governor about 20 years ago, promised funding and decided, well, I ain't going to do that. And then there were people who mortgaged out hoping for the state's support. And, my neighbors, they just, pack it up, lose the home, and, go back to where you came from. And we had a good discussion on Twitter. Glenn from Virginia is probably one of the most astute guys you can run into, and several others. And they were saying to me, you can't do tourism in Connecticut. We don't have enough. No. I respectfully disagree. We have a lot, but the problem is we look at Old Saybrook differently from New Haven. We look at New Haven differently from Hartford. We look at Hartford differently from the Litchfield Hills. If we could package this sucker as one unit, as one tourism unit, and make things safe and make people want to come. I said to Kathy before I came out, I said, what happened in Branson, Missouri? You know, I mean, it's like you had a mountain, you had a hill, but now it's like everybody goes to Branson, Missouri. Why? Because they built upon the collective assets and they brought others. And the other thing, you know, people need to get out of this idea of we need more funding and this will be good and whatever. Listen, I'm the biggest movie guy. I'm the biggest museum guy in the world. I love it. But you need to get private investment. And the only way you get private investment is you got to do two things. Number one, you got to clean house. I mean, you really got to clean house. I mean, really, really, really clean house. The other thing you need to do is, and I've worked with this personally for maybe 38 of its 50-something years, go back to Broadway in the 1970s because, you know, we have theater clients, you know, the Schubert Foundation Trust. Go back to Broadway. And people didn't want to come to Broadway. I mean, because like if New York now is bad. New York in the 1970s could have been worse. Some days I wonder. But the theater went to the state and said, you know, if you guys don't do something here, we're going to lose this whole district. Mm-hmm. What do you want us to do? Well, let's put the theater corporations into private foundations and nonprofits so the profits can grow tax-free and build the district. And this worked wonderfully. I mean, arguably, it still works wonderfully. But you know, you have the wreckage caused by COVID, as you said in your monologue. Now, of course, the other thing there is, in order to have private investments, what's the COVID playbook here, guys? I mean, what are you planning? Is still the dirty stuff in advanced CT? Republican Party, what are you going to do? Are you going to pull a Biden and pull Zeke Emanuel off the bench and he's going to be our lodestar? I mean, these are things private investment wants to see because they're not going to put money on a horse with a broken back. I mean, again, it's hard stuff, but I think it needs to be told. It's simple as that, and just as difficult.
So, listen, I agree with that, most of that for sure. And as far as creative ideas about tourism, we're not Disneyland, right? So we don't have like this giant theme park. I guess I'm curious of what people think tourism is. Like, is it, like you had said, package it all together and sell Connecticut as a whole? I think that's a great idea. But, you know, they all fight amongst each other, Tony, right? So Mystic fights with New London, who fights with New Haven, who fights with... So, I mean, I don't know how you break that, but the other side of that is if you want to try something different, like there's no creative ideas. There's nobody who wants to take a real chance with something groundbreaking because it's Connecticut, and it's just not favorable for any businesses to do things. We have, in my backyard, we have one of the most, like, as you were talking, I was thinking about this. I said we have like one of the most untapped, it's a gym. I mean, it's tapped by the thespian community. But I mean, Eugene O'Neill is in our backyard, right? This is one of the greatest playwrights in the history of America, right? So there are people who go to Eugene O'Neill to write and study and work and do theater, and it's right here, and nobody knows about it. So I'm sitting here as you're talking. I'm thinking to myself, well, why doesn't somebody come along with some money and combine Eugene O'Neill, which is literally a stone's throw from Ocean Beach Park, where the parking is, and why not set up some place where Broadway actors can come and do. I'm thinking outside the box, but nobody thinks about anything like that, and that's why I think Connecticut never has that. You know, they capture that one-time sort of great thing, and it takes hold. I don't know. Maybe that's a pie in the sky.
And let's go one step further. I mean, it's like I'll address that two ways. If I had people here in Pomfret. And it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do? We'll do the Vanilla Bean one day, and we'll do the trails. We'll do the airline trail another day, and we'll do the antiques in Putnam, and we'll go to Woodstock and whatever. 2 days, we're out of bullets. I mean, but it's like, okay, we've got a plan here. We can go to the Eugene O'Neill and watch really good theater. We could go into New Haven and do the Whitney Museum. I mean, marketing campaigns and commercials and, hey, that's great. It's not sustaining. That's the whole idea. Broadway, before they screwed it up, is sustaining. Branson, Missouri is sustaining.
Right.
What do we got? Go beg to the DECD and hope they have the money before they throw it on a Ned deal. I hate to be but that's how the sausage gets made.
I mean, we do have casinos. I mean, and without the casinos,
exactly.
Without the casinos, it'd be tumbleweeds blowing by. I think you'd have a serious issue with tourism because there's really little other reason. I mean, there's not little reason to come, but I mean, like you had just said, you run out of bullets in a day or so.
Yeah, and you got all the bullets. You just got to put them in one place. The other thing, and I offer this, and this has been done in other places. Make the cities, a social, not a social, but a special services district, for entertainment. Make them self-governing. Let them have a mini mayor who will make sure that everything is there. This was sort of done in the 1990s in New Haven when one of the few things John DeStefano did right was he really cleaned up the center. Tony Hart made it go to hell, but basically, and now it's such an unspeakable mess. But make it clear, and this is something because COVID is politics, regardless of what it is, regardless of the strains. COVID will be used politically, and to say, we will keep these theaters safe. We will keep this entertainment clean. We will ensure your right to operate. If I'm a vendor, if I am a costume maker, I am something like that, I know I'm not going to be blown out of a job by somebody walking around, saying my mask isn't up to my nose. If that doesn't get fixed, we're dead. We are dead.
I'm just curious, what do other states do? I mean,
look at Florida.
Yeah.
I think Florida's a great example of that. They do their business. It's like look at what Glenn Youngkin's doing in Virginia. I mean, it's they have insurance. If somebody makes a capital investment in Florida, that assuming they stay the way they do, and it looks that they will, they're not going to be shut down. They're not going to lose their livelihood or their investment. Where unfortunately here, we have a litany of people losing their livelihood and investment in COVID, and even before that in tourism.
I have a question before we run out of time from one of our great listeners. Jan wants me to ask you if corruption in Connecticut. Please ask Tony if he agrees. Corruption is so deep. Ask for a few sacrifices and let the rest of the pigs run with their money so we can move forward.
That to me says it in a nutshell. I mean, it's we've got to get over this reputation of being corrupt and inept, and our agencies not working, and our roads broken, and we need policy more than anything. If you have policy and if you have a bright line, it's going to be like a home run, Lee Elci. You played enough baseball. They come by accident. It will take care of itself. Yeah,
but nobody's going to willfully fall on any sword, right? I mean, that's not going to bow out and go into the sunset, no matter how much money he makes.
No, but I mean, people running against Ned, all the candidates for governor that are running can set up the bright line and say, this is where we need to go and this is what we're not doing. And right. We need to compete at a higher plane other than, my thought on your hypocrisy is better than your actual hypocrisy. It is a low bar. It will,
I agree.
Like one of my Twitter discussion group members always says that winners attract and losers chase. And that's really the way it is.
Hold on, I'm getting a message from our friend Wendy Burry, Cultural Coalition. O'Neill doesn't strive to be a tourist destination. They don't have the capacity. I understand that, Wendy. That's why I want to combine them with Ocean Beach. You guys are underestimating and undervaluing the sector of tourism efforts. So much more takes place. I love theater.
I see great potential. There's a lot of great things you can do with it, and listen. You want to stay in your compact area, and I understand that. We talked about that before we got on the air. That's great, but you need new lifeblood. Right. That's basically it.
Yeah, no, I'm not minimizing. I'm championing it. I love theater. Yeah. I think it's great. I've done it. I love it. I do it again. Somebody give me a job right now. I'll walk right now. Tony, thanks. I got to go.
Thanks, pal. Thanks, everybody.
You got it. Follow him on Twitter, Tony D'Angelo 7. It's a great follow. We'll come right back. Bruce Flax has arrived. He's dressed in a suit and tie. I can only imagine why. See how I made that rhyme?